promised Gina we'd go over the quiz, so that's what we're going to start with. This is the quiz from this past week. So if you had trouble with it, or if you're not sure if you had trouble with it, pay attention and maybe we can help you out. All right, number 1, a semicolon joins what could be. What does a semicolon join? Uh-huh. 2 related sentences is correct. That's correct. What could be 2 related sentences? Because an independent clause could be a sentence, right? So it joins 2 related independent clauses, 2 related sentences. You could say it either way. Good. Number 2, parentheses, dashes, and commas. Before we even look at this, this was from week 4, so it was based, all these questions were based on this resource here. Okay, yeah, that'll work too. If you right-click and open a new tab, you can do that. All right, so the next one, there we go. Parentheses, dashes, and commas. Can they set off non-essential information in a positive phrases? Can they emphasize content and set off non-essential information in a positive phrases? Can they emphasize content, or can they do neither? So basically I'm asking you, can they do these 2 things or neither of these 2 things? B, emphasize content and set off non-essential information. That is correct. They can do both. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I go over them in class. That's all right. It can, yes. That's one thing that that parentheses, dashes, and commas can do. And according to the Purdue OWL website, depending on how strongly you want to emphasize something, it says you can choose a comma, parentheses, or dashes. But they can also set off non-essential information. Remember we talked about my dog Blue is a hunting dog, and it depends whether or not you have more than one dog, whether or not it's essential or non-essential. But if it's not important, if you can remove it from the sentence, you indicate that with commas, or with parentheses, or with dashes. So any of those will work. B, yes. Although for your quiz, sometimes it mixes up the answers. So you might not get the same exact version. It might be A or C or D, but it is emphasize content and set off non-essential information.
I'm still confused about the people who read the dashes.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Just think of them like commas or parentheses.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, and
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to write something, and I tried the dashes because kind of wanted to set it off, and
Right.
I wanted to emphasize, and it just didn't appear right for whatever reason.
It would depend on the particular sentence, but here's what it says about dashes. Used to set off or emphasize content enclosed within the dashes or the content that follows the dash.
Mm-hmm.
Dashes place more emphasis than parentheses, so says Purdue OWL website. So if you want to emphasize something strongly, you can use a dash. But here are some, this is a good one. To some of you, my proposals may seem radical, even revolutionary. So there's your dash right there to emphasize how radical the ideas are.
Yeah, I can see that point, but I guess maybe I was referring to something, a sentence that had a dash before and or after.
Okay, it would work. Here's one right here. The cousins, Tina, Todd, and Sam, arrived at the party together. So you have the dash before Tina and the dash after Sam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, what's that? You could also use commas. You could substitute commas there. The reason that the dashes probably work better is because you already have commas within the information that's there. So a dash is probably a better choice. Or parentheses would work too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
But according to our dash is more...
Places more emphasis. Yeah, I don't think it really matters. I use it just to vary up my writing, but yes, according to them, if you want to emphasize something more strongly, you use a dash.
I was looking at the B. What did you come up with the B? How did you find that?
Come up with what?
In the do, we're underneath the place that says about doing special,
Mhm.
and it's the paper, that's
Oh,
what
yeah.
to do,
Mhm.
and then you're one of the,
Yeah, it's just anybody can contribute. Well, anybody that that they approve can contribute. So if you wanted to write something for them, you could. Yeah. Yeah, you could write for them if you wanted to. Yeah, absolutely. All right. What else? So a colon, it should conventionally do what? Precede a list, join an independent clause to a dependent clause, join two independent clauses, or follow an independent clause. What was the rule I gave you? Use a colon. If you're going to use a colon, how do you use it?
It precedes.
Precedes a list? It can. It doesn't have to, though. Because remember I said it tells you the answer to the question that you have is coming. So well, here's why. Is that a list? It's just one thing, right? I only have one pet, colon, a dog. So I only have one pet. The reader's thinking, what pet do you have? Colon is saying, here comes the answer, and here's the answer. So the tip I give you for using a colon, it doesn't matter what comes after it. It could be one word, it could be a list, it could be a whole nother sentence. Right? It doesn't matter what comes after. The only thing that matters is what comes before it, and what comes before it must be an independent clause every time. And the mistake people make this is what I always see. I'm not trying to trick you. Here's what I always see. People use it before a list, which is okay. It's used that way a lot. Not always, but it can be used that way. So, but this is the problem. I went to the store and bought. Not a complete sentence. So if you put and bought a few things, colon, milk, bread, and eggs, now you're in good shape. If it has what? Probably wouldn't work. Because like, yeah, I only have one pet that is colon. It has to be a complete thought. I don't think you'd have a complete thought that ends with is. That's right. You don't have to. That's right. Does that make sense? Are we good on that then? All right, so remember, it's what comes before the colon is most important. What comes after it doesn't matter too much. It could be just about anything as long as it's the answer to the reader's question. All right, periods and commas are placed where? Inside closing quotation marks or outside closing quotation marks? Ooh, some people said inside, some people said outside. Look what it says. Use quotation marks to enclose direct quotations. Note that commas and periods are placed inside the closing quotation mark. Inside. If you live in Britain, they go outside. I don't know why, but that's what they do. Yeah, the British actually put it outside. The only time you put your period outside the quotation marks is if you're citing something. So if you have your sentence like this with your quotation marks, and then you have a citation, your period goes on the outside. But if you don't have a citation, just traditionally when you're using quotation marks, it goes right there. I don't know. I'm not trying to trick you. I want you to use this. This says inside. Commas and semicolons go inside the closing quotation marks and outside the first quotation marks. So like this. I need a black marker. look at this. If he said hello, this comma goes outside the first quotation marks, but this period goes inside the closing quotation marks. Okay? Got it? So the end punctuation goes inside. We good? And you'll have the chance to, because I'm gonna give you another Dropbox. So I'll leave the Dropbox open till, I don't know, tomorrow maybe. So you can do it tonight or tomorrow. Please, yeah. If you already submitted your persuasive essay, please submit it again. I'll do it right now. You can watch me put the Dropbox there. No, I did bad. I messed up the Dropbox. So here's the week 4 folder. You'll notice right here it says Anecdote Dropbox Revision 2. That was my mistake. That should say Persuasive Essay Dropbox, so I'll add that right now. I'm going to make the due date, I'll make it Wednesday just to give you some extra time in case you forget to do it tonight. But get it in there by Wednesday, okay? Everybody's here tonight, so no excuses. No, your anecdote's already done. That's in the week 2 folder. Yeah, it's there, but that's not the right, it's not the, I messed up the Dropbox. It was my fault. No, just the same way you already did it once. Because look, I'm making a new Dropbox. So look, there it is. Instead of this one, this is the wrong one. You might look. I can show you who already dropped it in there. Look, there it is. All right, if you dropped it in there, it's there already. But if you didn't, just get it in this one, right here. All right, do that tonight maybe if you get a chance. Week 2. Week 2. That's another thing. Some people said the comments and the grades weren't showing until today. I think, Jill, maybe you emailed me to say that. They're showing now. So if you didn't see your anecdote feedback yet, you can go look at it before you resubmit your persuasive one. That way, if you made a mistake, you can check your persuasive essay. Make sure you didn't make a mistake again. You go to lessons and then weekly resources, and you go right back to where you submitted it. So you'll go right here to this Dropbox. The same place where you submitted it.
Now that way will eventually get
Yep. It will. That and the quizzes that aren't up there yet, they'll get put in Angel too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do it soon because I know you want to know what your grade is before the midterm. That's why we're going to finish going over this quiz for you. All right, so that was the colon. All right, next, period and commas placed inside the closing quotation marks. All right, which is the correct way to write a date? Monday, comma, October 4th, comma, 2012. Yes, that is correct. Good. Good. Your printout. For some reason, I'm always tempted to put a comma after the month. I don't know why, but I'm tempted to put a comma like after October and before 4. That's not right. You don't have to, because like when you have like words and a number, you don't need a comma between them. But when you have like 2 words, Monday and October, you need the comma. And when you have 2 numbers, 4 and 2012, you need the comma. All right, next one. When indicating non-essential information, things that could be removed from the sentence and the sentence still makes sense, it is acceptable to use comma or parentheses. That's true. Good. 2 dashes can be used in place of parentheses. True as well. No, you could use 2. Like that one we just saw with Tina. It could be either. 2 dashes can be used in place of parentheses. Actually, it has to be 2 because parentheses always come in pairs. You'll never see just 1 parenthesis. Right? They always come in 2. So it would have to be 2 dashes. You would never have a sentence that just has 1 parenthesis. That you wouldn't see it. All right, next one. Which is not a coordinating conjunction? Because Do not use a comma after what? A dependent clause to start a sentence, an independent clause which starts a complex sentence, a prepositional phrase to start a sentence, or a transitional word or phrase to start a sentence. Which one? D, transitional word or phrase? Nope, we want a comma in that case. Transitional word or phrase to start a sentence would be like this, like
Oh, do not use.
there's a transition word. Tonight, comma, we are leaving class early. So B, independent clause which starts a complex sentence. I only gave you two types of complex sentences. Complex means there's more than one part, more than one type of part. So the only parts we have to work with are ICs and DCs. Those are the parts we have to work with. And the only way you can arrange them is IC, DC, or DC, IC. Those are the only two basic complex sentences there are. Which one needs a comma? First one or second one? The second one, good. So, here's a complex sentence. Do you use a comma with a complex sentence that starts with an independent clause? No, you do not. So that was the answer for that one. Do not use a comma after an independent clause which starts a complex sentence. Independent clause starting a complex sentence, no comma. Okay? Good. That is good. It's good that you got that one right. All right. Coordinate adjectives. They're reversible. That's correct. English language is weird with these, but
English is just weird all over.
it is. You're right. You know why?
Because somebody wants to outdo somebody else. Somebody you can't say this word.
That's part of it. It's a hybrid language. Like if you went to the pet store to pick out a language, English would be the mutt in the pet store. It's like a mixture of all these different languages. That's why it has so many rules and exceptions to the rules. It's not a very pure language at all. Coordinate adjectives. Okay, adjective, bald, adjective, fat, adjective, 3, adjective, yellow. Those are all adjectives. Okay, if you want to know when to use a comma, if you have more than one adjective, if you can reverse them and the sentence still works, then you can use it. You could say the fat, bald man. You could say the bald, fat man. Either way, that means you need a comma. These are now coordinate adjectives. You cannot say, well, you wouldn't traditionally say the yellow 3 houses. You would say the 3 yellow houses. Why? I can't tell you exactly. It's just a idiosyncrasy of the English language. Nobody says that. They say the 3 yellow houses. It goes, actually, I could show you this way too. The 3 big yellow houses. Number, size, color. For some reason, you can't mix it up. You can't say the yellow 3 big houses. Typically, it goes number, size, color. That's how you do it. So you can't mix them up. So these are not coordinate, and you would not use commas.
You said something about that before, and I can't remember what you said was about.
Yeah, number, size, color, in that order. You can't mix them up. Yeah, the yellow 3 big houses. The 3 yellow big houses should be that way. All right, so those are not coordinate. If you can't switch them easily, then they're not coordinate. If you can switch them, that means you use a comma to indicate that. It means that they're like of equal weight. If they're coordinate, like the fat bald man, the bald fat man, doesn't matter which way you say it, they have equal weight, so you put a comma just to show people these are equal. All right, choose the best use of the colon. Some countries always do well at the Olympics. Canada, Russia, and the United States. Your responsibilities as a student: do your work, study, and read the instructions. Or when you go to school, bring a pencil, a notebook, and your textbook. B, let's look at B. Your responsibilities as a student. Is that a complete thought? Where's the verb?
Oh, well, no, it's not.
No verb.
It needs a colon page.
That's right. Every one of these tells a person, or says to the reader, like, you're probably wondering something. You're wondering what are your responsibilities. You're wondering what do you bring to school. You're wondering which countries. But there's only one that starts with an independent clause or a complete thought. Some countries always do well at the Olympics. So you don't need the answer, but you probably have a question, and the colon's saying, here come the countries for you. So it was A for that one. All right, how about this one? How many commas? Fortunately, because it is Tuesday, my father, a salesman, will come home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Do I hear 3? Do I hear 2?
What do y'all say?
Yeah, they're too quiet. 4, 5? Question is, how many commas? Here's your sentence. Here's your sentence. Fortunately, because it is Tuesday, my father, a salesman, will come home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Gina, give me 1. Fortunately, comma, why?
I'm gonna say Tuesday.
Because it starts with whatever that is.
Because
It's kind of like a transition. It's a ly. It's an adverb. Okay, it's an adverb. It's an introductory word, so that works. So we need a comma there. Where's my next comma go, Jill?
Because it is Tuesday.
Comma after Tuesday. Anybody disagree? All right, we'll go with the comma there. I need another comma.
after sales,
Why?
because
You gotta do better than that.
Because that
Wendy, why do I need a comma there?
that
Good. It's extra information, right? The point of the sentence is that, my father is coming home. So, yes, we need one after father. That's So, the point is my father is coming home. Fortunately, because it is Tuesday, my father will come home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is the extra information. That's the extra information, right? So you need a comma here after Tuesday because you have a subordinating conjunction. It is Tuesday. Because it is Tuesday. That's a DC, right? Dependent clause. My father will come home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's an independent clause. You have DC, comma, IC. You are correct. City and state, you need a comma. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commas for that sentence. 5 commas. I have compassion. It doesn't mean I'm going to change anything, but having compassion and changing things are two totally different things. All right, number 13. I don't give grace. I'll give you compassion. 13. When you have a list of 3 or more things, a comma before the last item, is it conventionally included, never needed, or optional? You are correct. It is conventionally included. Good. Good, because we said if you have... This was the peanut butter, ham, and turkey sandwich thing. Did we talk about that? And that's why you put a comma, so you don't think someone ate a turkey and peanut butter sandwich, right? Okay, good. So it's called the serial comma, but yes, it's conventionally included, and I would tell you to always use it. All right, number 14, independent clauses and dependent clauses, both what? Have a subject and a verb. That's it. They both have a subject and a verb. They can't both stand alone, only independent clauses can. Excellent. Number 15, which is the best use of a semicolon? Eventually, you will have to learn how to do physics. Dancing is hard, semicolon, professionals just make it look easy. Johnny walks to school, semicolon, a miserable trip in the winter. Or I love pizza, semicolon, it is raining outside. I like B. Dancing is hard. Dancing is a subject, is a verb. They're related, both complete thoughts, right? Dancing is hard, okay. Professionals just make it look easy, okay. Both complete thoughts. You can join those with a semicolon.
Did I get that right?
If you picked B, you did. Mm-hmm.
Why can't you say that still when you can't say
Sure. Eventually, you will learn how to do physics. That's a ly word, so you would use a comma to introduce that, not a semicolon. Johnny walks to school, semicolon, a miserable trip in the winter. That one's close, but a miserable trip in the winter is not a complete thought. If it said, it is a miserable trip in the winter, then you have a subject and a verb, and now you have a complete thought. Yeah. Professionals is the subject, make is the verb.
A miserable trip in the winter,
See, a miserable trip in the winter,
the same is different when you say it.
it is much different when you say it out loud. And then, I love pizza, it is raining outside. What's wrong with that one?
I don't even understand.
Not related. Unrelated clauses.
I feel that.
What is about that LY?
If you start a sentence with a word that ends in ly, it's an adverb, and you need a comma, like this one right here on the screen right now. Fortunately, because it is Tuesday, my father will come home from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
But has that
Hmm?
because the word fortunately is at the beginning of the sentence.
It's an
adverb.
it's an adverb or an adverb phrase. You need a comma always
Always.
if you have a ly word.
Fortunately was put in the middle of the sentence.
Then it would not.
Necessarily this sentence.
If it's in the middle of a sentence, then no, not necessarily.
If it's at the beginning.
If it's the first word, yes.
It's a, what do you say?
Adverb. It's kind of acting like a transition word a little bit.
But you, it's still confusing. You see those words.
Semicolon will,
Some things is just easy to know.
Yeah.
It does that.
yeah, remember your colon just tells the reader, here comes the answer. The semicolon is just acting kind of like a period. All right, here's your checklist for this week. You have to work on your research paper, create a thesis statement and outline, begin writing your rough draft. You also need to be familiar with these three concepts, which I'm going to cover on Wednesday in class, and this is what your quiz is on. All right, parallelism, comma splice, and sexism. We will go over those in class on Wednesday. No, those ones are actually directly from your textbook. I got the page numbers on there for you and everything. So it's only a couple pages, 2 pages, 2 pages, and 2 pages. 6 pages of reading, that's it. But we're going to go through it in class, so you'll be familiar with it.
What did you say about that? What did you say?
This is for the quiz. These 3 concepts
Really?
are for the quiz this week. Sexism.
6 pages. Oh, did you say
Sexism. Sexism.
that word?
Sexist language. Think about it.
Oh,
Tw-
sexist language.
sexist language, like, 30 years ago, people wouldn't use the feminine pronouns. They would just refer to everything as he did this, he did that. But now people use he or she. But I'm going to show you some tips. Like, you should try to make it plural whenever possible. Instead of saying, whenever someone wants to get a good grade in school, he should work his hardest. Like, that's how people used to write. Now it will say, whenever someone wants to do well in school, he or she should work his or her hardest, which is like really awkward, but that's what people do now to be politically correct. So you change it to they, and it makes it much easier.
You can't say his or her.
You can, but like in that sentence I just gave you, it gets really awkward. You're like, he or she should do his or her best. Yeah, it's too much. So you change it to plural. When people want to do well in school, they should do their best. See how much easier that is? So there, we already covered one of the topics already. All right, we got 2 more. We'll do them on Wednesday, and I'll go back over the sexist language too. All right, but let's talk about the research paper. It's your next major assignment. It's worth 20% of your overall grade. There's a whole folder here in lessons for your research paper, full of all types of good stuff. We will start with the instructions. It's a lot of instructions. All right. First thing you're probably wondering about is what is the topic of your research paper? Fortunately, you've already had some say in your topic. Caitlin, what's your program? Dental hygiene. Your research paper is going to be something about dental hygiene. Jill, what's your program? What is it?
Dad, drinking for gardens? Are you talking
No,
about
your
that?
program at Linear Tech.
Oh.
Program of study. Okay, your topic is going to be related to business administration.
It has to be about what we're doing.
It has to be, yes.
Even though I'm servicing 4 classes and haven't even got into the good stuff yet.
What's your good stuff? Okay, so your good stuff, yours is going to be related to X-ray tech. Yes. Gina, what's your program? Accounting? What is it? Accounting. Yours is going to be related to accounting. Everybody get it? It's going to be related to your program? Yes? Okay. This assignment is designed to improve your marketability. This assignment is designed to help you get a job. Seriously, that's what this assignment is designed to do. You're welcome. I could have given you a research paper about snow leopards in India if I wanted to, but I didn't. I'd rather you do something that's going to help you, because I am assuming, and I could be assuming incorrectly, but I'm assuming everybody is here because they want to get a job and they're related to their program of study. Yes? Okay. Well, here's a tip. When you get in an interview situation, if you can make yourself appear to be an expert in the field, like an expert in one particular area or another, that's going to help your chances of getting a job, regardless of what the field of study is. All right? 3 to 4 pages. All right, let me keep going. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's designed to improve your marketability and your expertise in your chosen program. Therefore, you should select a specific topic that interests you and is directly related to your area of study at Linear Tech. The specific topic can be a new technology, right? Like you said, dental hygiene. Maybe there's a new drill that they're using that causes less pain for the patient, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, 12-point font. So it could be a technology. It could be a new technique or a method. So maybe you're studying criminal justice, and there's a new technique that officers are using to restrain violent attackers. All right, so that could be a technique that people are using. No, it's not. It's changing all the time. Accounting is always changing, and there are always new software systems coming out. Sure. It's always changing, I promise you. And I'll help you. I'll prove it to you in just a second. I'll prove it. We'll use accounting as an example. All right, so it could be a new technology, like a new software system for accountants. It could be a new technique, a new method, a new procedure, or a current controversial issue or a problem in your field. Maybe something having to do with corporate tax rates. That has a lot to do with accounting, right? Those are always being debated. So that's a controversial topic you could cover. What are some other controversial issues? If you're doing like health field, there are always controversies like with patient confidentiality, things like that. You're doing X-ray tech, radiology. So controversies could be like which kind of technology should a patient use to diagnose a particular type of cancer. Like some doctors might say, let's use MRI. Some doctors might say, let's use 4D ultrasound. Perfect. So there you go. That's kind of controversial. That has to do with like techniques, methods, and procedures. So you'd have to narrow it down, and it's going to have to become persuasive. So it has to be persuasive. You have to make an argument, or else you're not going to interest me very much, because I'm sorry, I don't care that much about X-ray tech. I don't care that much about dental hygiene. I don't care that much about accounting. But I do care about English, and I do care about how you can persuade me. So if you decide to write about dental hygiene and some new drill they have, if you just give me an informational paper and say, this is a new drill, it does this, this, and this, I'm going to be bored to tears. Honestly, I will. But if you say, this is the new drill that just came out for, that causes patients less pain. However, dentists should not use it because the cost of the drill makes it not really worth the comfort level for the patient. That's interesting. Now I'm like, okay, let's see if she can make the case and say that even though there's a better drill out, dentists shouldn't use it because it's so expensive. Now I'm interested. I'm like, okay, prove your point. And I'm going to, read your research paper and look for your use of logic and, how you support your thesis with, experts' opinions and things like that. All right, so now I'm interested. But if you just give me straight research, I'm going to be bored to tears, all right? And you won't do very well. You might as well. All right, so you may not do a general research paper on your field or a position in your field. So you can't do a paper on, what an X-ray tech does or why people should become an X-ray tech. Like, that's not going to fly because you only get 3 or 4 pages to do for this particular assignment. So 3 or 4 pages is not going to do justice to any particular position or field of study, right? There are entire books written about what X-ray techs do. So 3 or 4 pages, you're not going to be able to get in depth with it at all. That 3 or 4 pages on just like the position is not going to make you an expert, right? But if you do 3 or 4 pages on the new drill that came out for, dentists, now you're an expert about something, right? Like you can go into an interview and be like, yeah, I actually researched some of the new technologies that dentists are using, and I read about the new X40 drill for patients, and I know it's a really good drill, but it does seem very cost prohibitive, so I don't know if you've considered using it or not, but I wouldn't do it. You can actually sound like you know what you're talking about, in your field of study. Maybe just about one thing, but that might be enough, right? Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. If you're unsure of what topic to select, or you need assistance in narrowing a broad topic like Gina does, first do some preliminary research using the library databases. Taking sides books and ebooks, simply looking at the table of the contents of these sources should give you some ideas. So here's what I would do if I were Gina. I would go to Linear Tech's webpage. I wouldn't want to have to write any more research papers, that's for sure. All right, Linear Tech's webpage, resources, library, see it down there? Guess where you start your research? Start your research here, that's right. That's where I would always begin. And then I would go to the ebooks. Okay, ebooks are easier to use than journal articles. So I would go to the ebooks, I would click there. Hopefully you have faster internet than the school. And then up here in this search tab, I would just type accounting. And we have new and innovative ways. Yeah. And now we have over 1,300 books about accounting. All right. They're not all going to be perfect, but some of these will be really good. Look at this, ethics in accounting. All right, that's pretty good.
Also, just it could be like on ethics.
Maybe one specific part about the ethics though. Like ethics is still really broad. Like look, there's a whole book written about it. So what I would do next, I would actually check the date because you don't want to use old books. All right, we want current research, 5 years. But the more recent, the better. Like 1 or 2 years is best. All right, so 2011 is perfect. This is fine. So I would click on this book, and in order to narrow my topic beyond just ethics, I would go to the table of contents. So sexual harassment in the accounting profession. Now that's specific. That's a specific topic right there. Principles-based accounting, I don't know what that means, but maybe that's a topic. Corporate social responsibility and CEO compensation, that's pretty narrow. That's a pretty good topic right there. Why are CEOs, making more and more money every year when the average worker's wage is not rising? Now you're dealing with something that's related to accounting, and that could work. Cheating and whistleblowing in the classroom, I don't know, in the classroom that might not work. Ethical corporate citizenship, I don't know what that means. But now you can see, if you look at some of these ebooks and look at the table of contents, you can see that there are specific issues that you could go after. All right? I'm glad you asked me that. Look at this. On the right-hand side, there's a little tab that says Cite. And if you use the ebooks and scroll down, there it is, MLA. You can copy and paste that on your page. Now, what I would do, I would check this just to make sure this is the same book I was just looking at. So it says the author is Cynthia Jeffrey. It says the title of the book is Research on Professional Responsibility and Ethics in Accounting. So I just want to go back and make sure that's the same book I was looking at. Okay. Yeah, that's it, Cynthia Jeffrey. That is correct. So just make sure it matches what you were actually looking at. I'm glad you asked that question too. Let's go back into the book and see. If I click on, let's say I like this CEO compensation. If I click on that, it's going to take me directly to the chapter. And let's say I get my information from page 103. There it is. 103 is right there for you. Page number and everything. All right? Any questions?
With websites, when you cite,
This is not a website anymore. Now you're citing an ebook. It's a book. That's it. Exactly right.
when you do it from the internet, you don't do anything in that background. When you use the option,
You don't have to. I would still do it every time.
what do you put there?
The author's last name.
No.
If there is no author,
Oh, that's
yeah, it depends. If there is no author, then you go to page number. If there's no page number, then you go to title of the article.
oh, yeah, do that. Like this morning I looked at this guy,
Mhm.
and he said your URLs
Mhm.
is
URL is not needed anymore. You don't have to. You can if you want, but you don't have to use
so
that.
that don't matter.
That never, the URL never ever goes in the in-text citation. It can go in the works cited entry. It can, if you want it to.
Right, it's good.
Mhm.
All right, after that, you got like a heading, and you got like, okay, here's the page.
The works cited page? Yeah. Which website is it? AAP? AARP maybe? This one? Okay.
Okay, now, but it's on the fact sheet, it says facts.
Over here? This one? Okay, let's pretend it was this one then. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay, right there, you got the, American Family Nations.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then, so like in that, where it says resources.
Right here?
There, I have a big thing, and I seen it says, family facts,
Mm-hmm.
like in big letters, and then it's got, column, type, each,
So like right here you have AAP facts, and then you have AAP leadership, membership. Mm-hmm.
Like this right here is here,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got a big column here, it says facts for family, and then it's got a heading. It's got like those, like, something like that.
Uh-huh. So you have an author name? Is there an author or no author? No author? So then you're going to start out your works cited entry. It's going to be a short work from a website, and you're going to title it Facts for Families.
So what you use is, facts for families,
Mhm.
what's right here,
Mhm.
like the American.
Like if I was doing one from, let's say I
No,
pick,
it's Home Alone, did that, because somebody did mine.
what is it?
Sorry, I don't know what I was when I did it.
What was it?
I completely redid my paper. You ever did that? Dude, you go make your, what was that like?
Hopefully it's better.
Home Alone.
Home loan.
Honey, whoever did, they made that
This?
like in law, I was somewhere.
This?
Maybe wrong.
Home Alone. Okay. Okay, Home Alone. Now what? What am I looking for?
That, what is it? Home Alone, facts for families.
Oh, okay. Is this maybe? It's not this? Yeah, I don't see it.
It's up to Asia, whatever it is, what was that, AAP.org? It's children home alone correspondence. I think it says, I would just put children home alone, children home alone. And it says that home alone.
This one's Safe at Home Alone. You might just have to email it to me. This one, is your child ready to stay home alone? That? Let's pretend it's this one. Let's just pretend. All right. I don't see an author name. Scroll down to the bottom just to check. Yeah, you don't need to cite that. You can just cite, this is your title right here. All right, this is your title. Is your child ready to stay home? This is your website, healthychildren.org. The sponsor is right here, American Academy of Pediatrics. See it? From the American Academy. That's the sponsor, okay? That's the title of the website. This is the title of the web page. Is your child ready to stay home alone? In-text citation would be, is your child ready to stay home alone, in quotation marks. And that would be the beginning of your works cited entry as well. Yes, parentheses and quotation marks. Are we good? Okay. Where was I? Ebooks. Okay, we saw the ebooks. That's how you narrow your topic. Okay, everybody understand how to narrow your topic? I've got another tip for you. If you try the ebooks and you're still struggling and you still can't figure out what topic you want to use, if you're unsure what topic what topic to select, or if you need assistance in narrowing a broad topic, first do some preliminary research, doing what I just showed you. Next, if you're still stuck, ask the instructors for your program to help you identify a topic that will benefit you upon completion of the program. So, Ron, what's your program? All right, I think is it Sam Agilani? Okay, so if you can't figure out a topic and you're struggling to find anything in the ebooks, you can go to Mr. Agilani and say, hey, I'm doing a research paper for English class, but it's related to industrial systems, and I want it to be something that will benefit me when I graduate, something that I can, show off in an interview, or something that will help me make more money. All right, so you will ask him, and he can probably tell you, like, well, recently in industrial systems, a lot of companies have switched over to solar energy, so maybe you want to research solar energy in industrial systems. All right, and that way you'll know something a little extra when you get into the interview setting and say, hey, I know about this, and maybe I can help your company if you ever decide to adapt to solar system. All right, so that's what I would do. Contact the instructors for your program. Even if you haven't had a class in the program yet, you still contact them anyway. You should get to know them because you're going to have their classes anyway. Radiology, Mr. Wells, W-E-L-L-S, Mr. Wells. Yeah, you should find out who the people are anyway. Probably. He is probably your advisor. Is he really? Oh, jeez. All right, I got to keep going. Students enrolled in a general education program. Is anybody here in the technical specialist certificate? No? Okay, don't worry about that then. All right, basic guidelines. Include your field of study next to your name. Nobody ever remembers to do that, and everybody ends up losing points because they choose not to do that. I need your program of study next to your name. Guess why? Next to your name in the heading for the paper. If you don't put your program of study next to your name, I don't know if your topic is related to your program of study or not. Right next to it. That's what I want. That's what I want. Next to your name. Put it next to your name. All right? That way I know that your topic is or is not related to your field of study. All right, style, MLA style, just like your last paper. Go ahead. What's your program? Just put motorsports, that's fine. Yeah. MLA It has to be an MLA format, just like any of your papers. It has to be double-spaced like any of your papers. It should be 3 to 4 pages. That does not include the works cited page. 3 full pages to 4 full pages. All right? 2 pages plus 1 line on a third page is not 3 pages. Right?
So you can do 3 full pages with 20
Yes. Yes.
Now, what is our format? What is
Yeah. Times New Roman, 12-point font. No cover or title sheet is required. It's an academic paper. Only use third-person language. We talked about why we avoid first and second-person language. Good. Thesis. Like I said, use a persuasive thesis statement. All right, because I don't want to be bored, and I want to see how well you can persuade, because we already spent time learning how to persuade and avoid logical fallacies and things like that. So I want to see you persuade. All right, sources. You must incorporate 3 outside sources. 3. Used to be like 5. I narrowed it down to 3, but I'm allowing you to use up to 5. All right, your 3 scholarly sources, 2 of them must be, 3 total sources, 2 of them must be scholarly. What do I mean by scholarly? An ebook is a scholarly source. A nonfiction book, like print book, is a scholarly source. So nonfiction ebooks or nonfiction books count as scholarly sources. WebMD would count as this, your one credible web source. So that's different. It's not scholarly, that's your web source. So scholarly sources, ebooks, nonfiction books, or journal articles from a Galileo database. Not a journal article from like Newsweek.com. Galileo database. All right. Scholarly, yes.
The Galileo got about the New York Times, so it would be like general
Yeah, but that wouldn't be a journal article. You're right. That's not necessarily a journal article, though. That would be just a newspaper article. So that wouldn't be scholarly. Scholarly is journals. Journals are peer-reviewed, and they're really boring usually. Galileo, yeah. Yes. 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 Or your ebook, what I showed you when I went into the ebooks, that was actually through Galileo, even though I clicked on Start Your Research here, and then there was that list of things, and I picked ebooks. That's still technically going through Galileo. But ebooks are way easier to use than journal articles, so I would say use ebooks because they're easier.
Can you use 3 scholars, or do
You
you have to have 1?
have to have one credible web source. Yep. 2 scholarly plus 1 web source. Scholarly sources, journal articles, nonfiction books, ebooks, or print. Do not use outdated sources more than 5 years old for a current topic unless you're providing some kind of vital historical background. Find your scholarly sources through the library databases. I showed you how to do that. You may incorporate no more than 3 scholarly sources and 2 credible web sources. So you can have 3 to 5 sources. All right? You can go up to 3 scholarly and 2 credible web sources. Papers that solely use websites, even credible sites, and they don't use scholarly journals or ebooks or nonfiction books, papers that don't use those scholarly sources will not receive a passing score. Wikipedia, blogs, and .com sites are not typically credible for this assignment. However, .org, .gov, and .edu are credible. Your MLA book will give you information on evaluating sources if you need it. All right, we already did documentation, so I don't think I really need to cover any more of these instructions. Do you have any questions about your research paper? That's true. That's true. And so you have to make, that's why I said typically credible, not always, typically. Yes, there are .org sites out there that are not credible, but most of them are. You know, most organizations, if they're reputable, they would have a .org that counts.
Can you explain to me, so I understand what is, how you can categorize a non-fiction book as scholarly versus a fiction book?
We won't use fiction. We won't use any fiction books. It has to be
That's what I
nonfiction.
heard you say.
Nonfiction. Nonfiction books. So like, I mean, your textbook, if you have an accounting textbook, that would actually work as a scholarly source if you wanted it to. But the ebooks are easy to use too. All right. Rough draft. It says on the syllabus that your rough draft is due right here, which would be Monday, this coming Monday. But writing 3 to 4 pages and doing all the research is almost impossible to do in a week. So I'm changing the due date to the 1st of July. All right, July 1st. Good. July 1st is going to be the due date for the rough draft. We do not have any class this week, the 1st through the 7th. We don't have class Monday or Wednesday that week. All right, so you're going to get your rough draft done by Monday, by the end of this week 6, and then it's going to be set up to do your peer mark, which will be due during week 7. So you'll have the option to do your peer mark this week if you want, but if you can't, if for some reason you can't do it during this bye week, if you're on vacation or whatever, I'm going to give you a day or two to get it done during week 7. And then you're going to have the rest of week 7 to finish your final draft of your research paper. Yes. Yes. Was that your question? Okay. I know there are no classes. I don't know if the school's going to be like closed down, because actually instructors can still come in to do their work, but there are no classes that week. I don't know. I guess just because 4th of July, so many people go on vacation, they decide to not have class that week. I don't know. Probably not. But exactly. Yep. If you access it from home, you need the password. What's the password? Good. Sphere. Good. Any other questions? No? So this week you have a quiz. We're going to go over the other topics for the quiz on Wednesday. If you have questions about the research paper, I'll help you with those on Wednesday. But get started soon, because doing all the research and putting it all together is difficult. Actually, before you go, I want to show you one more thing. It'll only take a second. If you go to the folder where all the research paper stuff is, right here where it says research paper, look at all this good stuff. I have an outline planner. If you're the kind of person that needs to like spatially organize your thoughts, you can use that. Don't worry about the Peer Edit worksheet. You're going to do the Peer Mark program instead, so you can ignore that one. I have a checklist for you to follow to make sure you did everything correctly. There's the documentation website that I've showed you before. Here's a paper on integrating quotations, so when you get something interesting from your source, you can work it into your paper. This shows you how to create those signal phrases like, according to Dr. So-and-so. All right, that shows you how to do that. I have a sample outline for like my master's thesis paper. It's very similar to what I did for my research. I have a sample introduction for a research paper. I have 3 student samples and evaluations of those student samples. So these student samples all have problems, but the evaluations indicates what the problems are with them. So you can look at them and say, wait, that looks weird, and then you can look at the evaluations and say, okay, they didn't have in-text citations here, or whatever it might be. All right, so I have a whole bunch of information there for you. We don't have enough time to go through every single one, but if we have some time, maybe on Wednesday, we could look at some of these things too. All right? All right, I will put the recording of class up too, just in case you need it.